You're teed up for Golf News RI TV with your host, Joe Calabro, and his guests. We're talking everything golf around the region and on the tours. Now, here's your host, Joe Calabro.
Hey everybody, welcome to Golf News RI TV. I'm Golf News RI co-founder and CEO Joe Calabro, and thank you all for tuning in to this show and all the previous shows, both on TV and of course watching it on our YouTube channel and our website, GolfNewsRI.com. We're here today at Triggs Memorial Golf Course in Providence, and we're going to talk to Karl Augenstein in just a few minutes. But first, I want to give a quick recap of the state amateur down at Rhode Island Country Club. It was an unbelievable week, and a big win for Mike Calif in the AM. And here's what he had to say afterward, and a few highlights from the day.
Mike Calif is your 2025 Rhode Island Amateur Champion. Calif defeated 2018 champion Jake Bauer 1-up at Rhode Island Country Club to take the title.
It's great. I had no idea it was coming, to be honest. Jake is a stud, and he played so well all day. And putts weren't really dropping for me, but we just kind of stuck with it. And
Calif is already an accomplished player, having won back-to-back mass amateur titles in 2012 and 2013. So how does it feel to have a Rhode Island title?
I mean, it's awesome. It's fantastic. It is. I'm not as young as I was when I had some other accomplishments, so it is. It's really, this one means a lot. And on top of that, to have like so many friends and family here rooting me on is just like, I mean, I will have a hard time not being emotional on this whole thing.
One of the storylines of the championship match was Mike's caddy, Bob Murphy, who was racing against the clock. Bob's son was getting married, and the rehearsal dinner was that night. While he was cutting it close, Bob hung in there to help secure the victory and pocket the golf ball afterward.
To have him with me all week through the heat, with Matt's wedding looming over us, we didn't know if he was going to leave on 15 or 16, or he said, I got to go on 17. And then he's like, no, I'll go on 18. My close friend Matt Hall was ready to jump in if need be, but fortunately Bob could stick it out and then take my ball and run.
So with this most recent victory, how would Calif sum up his career?
I'd say it's a fun adventure, right? I mean, that's amateur golf. So, I've had some highs in my golf career. I've had certainly plenty of lows, but that's kind of what golf is.
By winning the Rhode Island Amateur, Calif now gets to continue his adventure at the U.S. Amateur out in California later this summer. Reporting for Golf News RI, I'm Joe Calabro.
So congrats to Mike on winning the state AM. Also, a big shout out to Austin Silly, who took medalist honors through the first two stroke play rounds in 100-degree heat. There was no breeze in sight, no breeze coming up the water. It just did not happen. So congrats to him as well. As I mentioned off the top, we're here today at Triggs Memorial Golf Course, and we're so happy to be joined by the legendary Karl Augenstein.
Legendary, yeah, right, Joe.
Karl,
that's hilarious.
Thanks. You've been here forever. You're a legend. Thanks for doing this, number one. And two,
my pleasure.
And it's awesome it's always great to talk to you. I've known you since I was a kid, and my dad used to be the Interclub president here years ago. I spent a lot of time here growing up here with some of the old timers, old guys like Yogi and those guys. But just talk about your time here at Triggs. You've been here for a while. You've obviously seen a lot of things come and go, a lot of people come and go. Just kind of start off with a summary of your time here.
So, yeah, you talk about the old guys. I guess I'm one of them now. Right? So I started in the golf industry in 1989, which is 36 years ago, when we acquired Firefly Golf Course. And then in 1990, we were able to take over the lease here at Triggs. And so we've been here for 35 years, a long time in the golf industry. And when we took this golf course over, it was in pretty tough shape. I mean, there were a lot of issues here with the golf course. So over the years, we've been working in roughly 10-year increments on leases with the city of Providence over the 35 years, and we make plans and commitments with the city in those 10-year increments. First 10 years, we spent a lot of time just doing a lot of conditioning work, trying to get the greens, tees, and fairways in decent shape. which has really been our focus over the entire 35 years, the primary playing surfaces. And then in that first 10-year period, we also spent a lot of time and resources on incorporating cart paths onto the golf course, which really weren't here, expanding tees because they were too small, and doing a lot of bunker work. The second 10 years, which was just the 10-year lease just prior to the one that we're in now, you know, I hear the comment frequently that we didn't spend any money then, but we had some issues. We had some infrastructure issues here that had to be corrected, and the biggest one was the maintenance facility that we had inherited. Was the building was 70 or 80 years old. It was probably should have been condemned. We had to build a new maintenance facility, and we also, during that 10-year period, built the practice range, which we didn't have here, and we did a lot of infrastructure work with the irrigation system. So those were all big investments that the golfer couldn't feel and touch. So consequently, a lot of players said we weren't doing anything. But if we hadn't done that infrastructure work, we wouldn't have been able to move forward and take care of this golf course properly, and then move into this lease where we're doing a tremendous amount of work that the golfer can feel and touch on the golf course.
And you guys have done a ton of work here over the last couple of years at least. Namely, one of the biggest ones is restoring the clubhouse, and now the clubhouse is actually fun to go into and hang out and have a sandwich or a beer or whatever it is. Talk about that a little bit, because I hear a lot, you know, when I say how great Triggs is and how amazing everything looks, people will say, well, they're just spending money because they have to because of the recent contract. That's what I hear when people comment or tell me that. What would your response to that be?
Well, the fact of the matter is that those contracts are a part of that. When we're bidding on a lease or negotiating a lease, in either case, the city wants a commitment on improvements to the golf course. So we sit with the city and try to prioritize those. In a lot of cases, the city are not golf people, so they don't understand what needs to be done on the golf course. But in this last case, they did understand what needed to be done with the clubhouse, and in particular the parking lots and the curb appeal. And that was a priority with the city. That was going to be part of this lease no matter what operator won that bid. So there were improvements that were planned by the city that we just took over: the signage in the parking lots, the aesthetics around the buildings, and of course inside the clubhouse. And then there's all the improvements that we've been working on for the last 3 years on the golf course, which is going to continue. And right now, I think we're doing a great job with it. All the work that we're doing is getting rave reviews.
Awesome. And well, next up on GolfNewsRI TV, we're going to go on the course. Carl's going to show us a few things, and we're looking forward to that. Onto the course next on GolfNewsRI TV. Stay with us. Welcome back to GolfNewsRI TV. I'm Joe Calabro. Thanks to everyone for tuning in to this show and the previous shows, and of course thanks to our sponsors for making this show possible. We're in season 2 here now, so pretty exciting stuff. We're here at Triggs Golf Course, Triggs Memorial Golf Course. It's been a staple in Rhode Island for a ton of years, and we're joined by the man himself, Karl Augenstein, of course. Karl, we're here at the second green. This is one of the holes that have gone into some major renovations over the last year or two. Just talk about kind of what went into the renovations for this hole and kind of what people are looking at behind us here.
Yeah, so Joe, we've been doing a ton of work on the golf course over the last 3 years, and this is the second hole. We're standing next to the second green, and this is, in my opinion, the signature hole of the golf course. It's my favorite because it incorporates so many of the Donald Ross design elements. As an example, it's a pretty straight hole, but he makes it appear as a slight dogleg left with some optical illusions and optical targets on the golf course and on this hole. So when we started prioritizing the renovation and restoration work that we're doing on the golf course, this was one of the holes that I selected to do right away. It incorporated the reconstruction and renovation and restoration of the complete bunker complex around the green, also incorporating golf cart paths into the design, which didn't exist 100 years ago when Donald Ross designed this golf course.
There's no such thing as golf carts back then. There wasn't even a thing.
Yeah, there were no golf carts back then, so it wasn't a consideration for Ross's design, but we have to do that and incorporate that into the design. So this included all new cart paths going from the second green over to the third tee, a new third tee complex. There was some significant tree trimming and that kind of work done here. And this process includes hiring a golf course architect and a qualified construction golf course shaper. And the architect went back and used aerial views of this golf course from 1938, which was only 6 years after the golf course was built. And we also use the original Donald Ross designs, which we have in our possession up in my office. So
that's so cool. And I've been fortunate to talk to a number of people, and it's so cool to have the original designs and his original drawings of the course. And you mentioned the aerial views. That's gonna be like pretty crazy stuff to look at for a golf aficionado like yourself. And,
yeah, it really is. And quite frankly, we found on this hole, for an example, we're standing right next to two new bunkers that are to the right of the second green. And over the years, that had become one big waste bunker. And it was not the way Ross originally designed it. So we restored it back to his original drawings. And we also restored the left green side bunker back to his original drawings and the plan and the aerial that we had from 1938. So this is the way he originally designed this hole, and this is the way it should be.
Now, you were mentioning in the golf cart on the way up here, the architect you use is actually a Rhode Island guy.
Yes, our architect is a gentleman named Tim Garish, who was trained with the Cornish and Silver Group. He has branched out on his own the last several years and is located right here in Providence, Rhode Island. And he's here 2, 3, 4 times a week, checking on, not only reviewing drawings and designs, but actually supervising the construction work with me to make sure it goes the way it's supposed to.
How cool is that to have a local guy doing it, like someone that's not just flying in and out, and not that there's anything wrong with that either, obviously, but how cool is it to have a local guy doing it?
Well, it's real cool because it gives us a lot of flexibility. Tim has maintained, along with our construction guy, the flexibility to incorporate all of the Donald Ross parameters, but also make the little tickles and adjustments that we need to make it fit into the way we operate the golf course. You know, so it's real good. Yeah.
All right, so this is the second hole. We have more golf course to get to, and so let's move forward. All right, moving along here at Triggs, we're on the 6th hole.
Right.
A lot of renovations here as well. Cool look at the green as those guys are putting, hopefully for birdies. Talk about this hole and what some of the work you did here.
Yeah, so Joe, this is what I call one of Donald Ross's makeup holes at Triggs. Short par 5, slightly under 500 yards long, but everybody looks at it as a birdie or an eagle opportunity. So on this hole, we had bunker complexes left and right of the green that were washed out. They were in terrible condition. So we had our golf course architect, Tim Garish, design a restoration plan for these bunker complexes that brought it back to exactly what Donald Ross had on his plans almost 100 years ago. And they came out perfect. When you're doing this work, particularly in an area like this, it had to incorporate some improvements to the irrigation system and, more importantly, drainage, because as you can see, the slopes way down to this green, and a lot of the water that comes off the golf course was running right into those old bunkers. So when we redesign these complexes, we try to incorporate drainage work to get that water away from the bunkers and away from the green. This particular green is really interesting because it has the appearance of having a big slope from front up to the back, but it's actually pretty level. And in fact, putts coming from the back to the front sometimes are faster than putts coming up the hill faster than putts coming back down the hill. That's another one of Donald Ross's trademarks, and it's kind of like an optical illusion.
When you guys are doing all this renovation, I mean, you guys are so busy all the time, even throughout the winter. What's that process like to figure out, okay, we're doing this hole, this hole this week or this hole next week, whatever it is. Given that you guys are so busy, you can't really just shut down the course. I don't imagine.
No, we never close the course.
Unlike some other places can do that. You guys are so busy, right, even in the winter months. What's that process like to figure out?
We never close the golf course, but we've been blessed. I've been blessed to have a relationship with a gentleman named Rick Marcos for the last 30 years, and Rick is a expert golf course construction shaper. And you really need that expertise, because this work, when he's doing bunker complexes with all the slopes and the drainage and all that, to make it look right, I consider it almost to be artwork, He's actually drawing a painting on the golf course, and he does a fabulous job with that. And he's also a very, very good player. He's a 2-3 handicap. So he understands when golfers are coming through, how to get out of the way and how not to interfere with their play.
Awesome. We'll have more with Karl Augenstein here at Triggs when we come back to GolfNewsRI TV. Stay tuned. Welcome back to GolfNewsRI TV. Joe Calabro here, and I'm joined by Karl Augenstein, of course, here at Triggs Memorial Golf Course. We just went through some of the holes on the course, some of the changes. We obviously couldn't go through every single change, but just kind of summarize some of the other changes that have happened. Obviously, the parking lot was a big one. Bunker renovations. What other changes are happening or are going to happen in the?
So right now we're wrapping up a bunch of additional bunker work on the golf course, which was probably one of the major things that really needed improvement here. And then we're incorporating golf path work and drainage and those kind of things. We're going to be moving from that in a couple of weeks to rebuilding some tees that need a lot of work. So these programs are going to be continuing for several more weeks this year, and then we're going to be starting and planning in a whole nother set for 2026.
A couple of years ago, you talked about it a little bit. You had to kind of rebid on Triggs. We don't have to rehash the whole thing, but obviously you've been here for a while. To you, and you talked about this, but how important was it for you to keep Triggs and finish what you started here a couple of years ago when that whole thing went down? And we don't have to rehash the entire thing, but how important was that for you?
For me, it was extremely important. I put a ton of effort into present a bid on this lease that made sense to the city and to the golf community in Rhode Island, and I think the city accepted our bid. And it was nip and tuck there for a while with other bidders, but I was very, very fortunate and happy to have received the bid, and it's really just kind of rejuvenated me personally to really continue to move this golf course forward and make it the best that it possibly can.
And it's certainly in great condition, even with all the heat. We were saying in the car driving out there that it looks amazing, despite it's been 200 degrees every day for the last week.
I can tell you, Joe, not a lot of people know me or appreciate this about me, but I'm my own worst critic. When this golf course isn't right, I know it. I still play golf here, and as I said, I want it to be the best it possibly can be for our players.
One thing that I always appreciated about Triggs and yourself is the work you guys do to help junior programs, whether it's hosting high school matches, host Challenge Cup stuff. We just had the World Series of Junior Golf here a week or two ago, whenever that was. I think it was the same week as the Northeast Amateur, so about 2 weeks ago. Talk about why it's important. I know you guys have a partnership with Buttonhole as well, who they were on our first show of the season. Why is that important to you to continue to help out junior programs when you guys obviously do tons of business on your own here?
Right. Well, the kids programs have always meant a lot to me. I mean, I'm a father. I've raised a bunch of daughters, and having children on this property is just a blast. And a lot of the older guys really enjoy that too. And we're also helping the community. We're helping these kids grow and learn this game, and hopefully someday they'll be good customers for us. But as you said, we have a partnership with Buttonhole. But kids that have graduated from the Buttonhole system play golf here at Triggs for free. The inner city high schools who have teams play golf here and practice here for free. The Challenge Cup is a trade deal that I do with Dave Adamonis, and he pays me a little bit of money for that, but it's basically another charitable donation, and that World Series of Golf that he just had, the U.S. Challenge Cup World Series of Golf that he just had here last week was just unbelievable. I mean, these kids can flat out play. They're getting great instructions, and they're really learning the game.
Yeah, it's amazing. They play a different game than I do.
Absolutely.
That's for sure. I think Adrian Eaton shot 67 in the gusting winds, and it was crazy.
Joe, I was watching some of these kids this big that could outdrive me by 50 or 60 yards. I mean, I want to throw up on them to one extent, but I love what they're doing. It's just great to see. It's just great to watch these kids play golf.
And in all your years in the golf industry, over a number of different courses and places, how have you seen the industry evolve or change? And do you see it? And what do you see coming, I guess? Well,
from a business standpoint, we've had our ups and downs and highs and lows over the 35 years I've been in this industry. We've had years where we made some money as a business, and we've had other years where we were putting money into the business. For whatever reason, as a result of COVID, and I think it really stimulated a younger group, that 20 to 40-year-old group, to take a look at the game, try it, and they fell in love with it. And that is by far the biggest segment of our market demographic that's growing in this industry, and I think that's true for every golf course in the country. It's not just us here.
Awesome. Well, listen, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. Appreciate all you do for helped me out over the last couple of years of me doing GolfNewsRI and trying to build this up. And obviously, it's always great to be back at Triggs, a place where I kind of grew up as a kid, and in a lot of ways, kind of pre-Kirkbride era of me. So thanks for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
Joe, it's my pleasure.
Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Thanks to Carl. Thanks to everybody here at Triggs. Great to be back. And we'll see you next time on GolfNewsRI TV, where we preview the Women's Amateur at Alpine Country Club. Talk to you then.
You've been watching Golf News RI TV with host Joe Calabro.